going to walk through using a few of the course tools in a little more detail. So the first thing I want to look at is how to navigate and use Prezi, which is the tool I've used to build class presentation lectures. So when you click on it, so this is under the writing process, so this is the unit that we'll work through this first week of class. And so when you click on an introduction to writing, this is the page that comes up. And so you notice up at the top tells you what pages in the book you need to read as you are working through this presentation. So it is up to you whether you read those chapters, then work through the presentation, whether you work through the presentation as you read the chapter. The presentations are connected to the chapter. They don't always work through, page by page. So you can read the book as you're working through the presentation, but it's not going to be an exact one-to-one every time you click next. Isn't going to be when you turn a page. So to use Prezi, you have a few different options. So down here at the bottom, you can push this play button to get started, and it'll take just a minute for it to come up. And this is, you work through it at your own pace. So as you can see, we're starting here with an introduction to writing. If you click over here, once it loads, you've got these other options. So I'm going to walk through them. These are your forward and back buttons. So when you click this, it will advance to the next area of the slide. Prezi is a little bit different than a PowerPoint in that it is built on one large canvas. So if you click on this button right here, it will zoom out and it will show you the entire presentation at once. So right now it's too small to read, but you can see that there's a variety of things we're going to navigate to. Down here under More, you have the option to switch into full screen mode. So I'm going to click on that right now. If you click into full screen mode, now it's a little bit larger, and while you might not be able to read all of these subpoints, you can see the major headings that we're going to work through in this presentation. So that can be useful to see, okay, what is it that we're going to cover here, right? So then what you can do to work through it is click on these arrows. So now we'll zoom back in to this next point, and then we'll keep working through these steps in the writing process. All right, so I'm not going to click through all of them right now, but each time you click, it will advance you. You can also click back if you want to move back a step. You have some other options as well. You can scroll in or out. So on your mouse, you scroll up or down and zoom in or out. So you can use the forward and back buttons down here at the bottom to navigate through the path that I've created in the presentation, but you can also navigate through it and create your own path. So if you don't want to work through them in the order that I've gone through them, or you want to work ahead and then you want to go backwards without having to click through all the steps, you can zoom in and out that way. If you drop and drag on the screen, you can also slide it around that way. So you can slide over here and then zoom in on something down here and then zoom back out and slide over here again. So hopefully this will be a useful way for you to work through the material and allow you to work through it a little bit more at your own pace, or working forward and backwards a little bit easier as you'd like. So then again, you just click full screen to exit out of the full screen. When you are in full screen mode, this little menu can appear over on the side, and this is just manual zooming in or zooming out. If you click home, that will do the same as this button down here and show you the entire presentation. So if you have any questions about navigating through Prezi or navigating through these presentations, please send me an email or post a message in the virtual office. Let me know. I'd like to help you. And if you are interested in learning how to, or have questions on how to use Prezi, if you have another class that you want to build a presentation in and want to try it out, you can just go to Prezi.com and you can play around with building your own presentations this way if you'd like to try that out. All right, the next thing that we're going to look at is the discussion questions and the discussion rooms. Under each unit there is a discussion forum, so let's come down here. If you remember on the checklist for the unit, let's click back up there for a moment, there are a variety of different discussion question activities each day this week. So there is one discussion room for all of those questions. So you just come over here to discussion questions, no matter which one you're on. Then what you do is you scroll down here and you will pick whichever discussion question you need to be answering at that time. So just a couple things overall about discussion questions. Discussion forums are conversations, right? Since we are in an online class, we can't have face-to-face discussion the way we would in a traditional classroom, but we can still have discussions through the forum. There are a few advantages and disadvantages of having conversations this way. Some of the advantages are that you can take time to think about your response. So you don't have the immediacy of someone calls on you, an instructor calls on you in a classroom, and then you need to immediately come up with your answer. You have time to think about what it is you want to say and how you want to answer that question. What can be a disadvantage or frustrating about that is that sometimes you have to wait longer for someone to reply to you. Right? If you're having a conversation in a classroom, everyone's responding to each other fairly quickly. This is where the live feature up here, the live real-time chat, can be helpful. You are free to use that to talk to your classmates or to talk to me when I'm logged into the class. Another thing to remember is that you are talking to people, right? Remember that you're not just talking to other computer screens, you're talking to your fellow students, your fellow classmates. So please be respectful. If you feel upset by a comment, take advantage of that time you have to reply. You do not have to reply instantly and immediately when you're still upset. Take that wait time to think through, okay, what was that person saying? What did they mean by that? If you ever feel uncomfortable with the tone of a discussion forum, please don't hesitate to email me. I will be logging into the class several times during the day on the day that we are having discussions to help moderate them and respond to people. So make sure that you've worked through the presentation and the reading before you come into the discussions. If you want to come in and see what the discussion questions are as you're working through the presentation and the reading, that's fine. But please do complete the reading and presentation before you respond to the questions. So under each discussion room, there will be at the top instructions as to how many of the questions I would like you to answer and how many of your classmates you need to respond to. Now, this is a minimum. You can respond to as many of your classmates as you would like, and you can have as lengthy of conversations in here about these questions or these topics as you would like, but this is the minimum. And again, over here, this is the minimum. If you would like to answer all of the questions, that's perfectly fine, but make sure that you are at least doing the minimum, and these are not always going to be the same. So make sure you do pay attention to that initial piece of instruction as to how many questions you need to answer and how many people you need to respond to. So as you can see, we click through these different discussion rooms. Now topic sentence will load, come down here. Here again, it's the same, to answer 2 questions, then respond to at least 1 person. Different questions though. And as we work through each of these, here we have some more questions and then the 4th step. So make sure that you are on the right discussion room that you mean to be as you work along and answering the questions, right? If you have questions about the question, you don't understand the question, respond and say that. Say, hey, I need some clarification on that question. Or again, you can send me an email. If you want some clarification on what it is you're supposed to be responding if the question doesn't make sense. So please don't hesitate to ask. You're here, this last piece of this first unit, take a look here at journal activities really quick. Some of these things you're going to be doing journal activities. If it says journal activity or type your answers into a journal entry, what you need to do is at the top here, come to your journal. And this is only going to show my name, but what you'll do is you'll just click on it and you will make a journal entry, and then you can give it a title and type your response into the journal entry. All right, let's come back over here. The other thing, not in this first unit, but starting next week, the other thing that we will be using the discussion rooms for is peer review. So peer review means giving each other feedback about your writing. So you'll notice here, for each style of writing, there is a discussion room for that style. So here you're just answering 1 question and then responding to 2 of your classmates. Then on the peer review day, which is Tuesday for exemplification, once you write your draft, your paragraph, what you'll do is you'll copy and paste that draft into a response, so into the body of it, and then once someone else has posted their paragraph, you'll read through it and you'll give them feedback. So peer review is a chance for other people to help you edit your paragraph. It's helpful to get other perspectives on your writing. It's helpful for you to see other people's styles of writing. It also strengthens your own ability to find sentence skills errors in your own writing by looking for those errors in other people's writing. So please take advantage of this peer review option to help yourself work on the revision. And so all you have to do to get full credit for the draft is to submit it to this discussion post, right? So make a response where you copy and paste your paragraph into the body of the response. Then you want to give feedback on at least 2 of your classmates' paragraphs. So you want to review the tips for peer review down in resources. But a couple of good things to do is to read the paragraph twice. Read it once to get it in your mind, and then read it a second time where you know what's coming, you know what the paragraph's about now, and so then you can pay more attention to how are these sentences put together, how is the paragraph put together, and you can work through various checklists, and there's usually a checklist reference in the book that you can use to help you with questions as you're working through the paragraphs and thinking about what can I tell them, how can I tell them to make their paragraph stronger. Remember, these are suggestions, right? Just because someone says you should change the wording of this sentence, and then they give you an example of how they might suggest to change the wording, or they say, maybe I would list these things in a different order. These are suggestions. You, as the writer, have the final say. You don't have to take all of the suggestions you receive from your classmates, but do consider them and say, okay, what is this suggestion that they're pointing out? Maybe I don't want to do it the exact way that they suggest I change it, but that is a good place to look at when I'm working on revision. Yes, that sentence needs some work. I'm not going to change it the way they suggested I change it, but they are right in that it needs some work. So use them as suggestions. If you have questions, you aren't sure where to go with the revision, what to do, come over here to the resources and go through those checklists. And if you're having trouble, if the checklists, you're still feeling stuck and you're not sure, please talk to me. Send me an email, post something in the virtual office, talk to me in real time when I'm logged into the class, and we can help you get it figured out. Because revision is a really valuable part of the writing process, right? It allows you, when you give yourself time to do a revision, that allows you to do is with your initial draft to get your ideas on the page. You get your ideas out, you get them somewhat organized, you've got your sentences, your sentence skills. There might be a few grammar things you need to work on, but you have a chance to get everything down, and then you can come back and analyze it. You can come back and say, okay, now that I've got my idea on paper, now that I have something on paper to work with, how can I make it stronger? How can I make it better? Right? So please let me know if you've got any questions as we're working through this, and again, make sure that you are keeping track of which discussion post or which peer review you're clicking on, and make sure you're putting things in the correct one. And I'm excited to get going with your paragraphs and helping you work on them. So please let me know if you have any additional questions about any of these topics we covered just now, whether the Prezi, the discussion posts, or using the journal feature.